What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of In the Box. We are deep in the off season now. Babiak, how are we doing?
Hanging in there for sure. Slow news week, but we have enough to talk about. Enough.
Yeah, we waited like a little bit extra to do this episode because we wanted to have a full like topic list. We got Ehlers signing because like as soon as we dropped the last episode of the podcast, he signed like an hour later. The Isaac Howard trade, Ike Howard, McKenna going to Penn State, as well as like the CHL AHL rule change. Cam York signing a 5-year deal. Dumba getting traded, Reaves getting traded, and then you guys submitted some follower questions. So we're gonna do a little Q&A at the end. Let's get into it. Nikolai Ehlers, 6 years, $8.5 million, 29-year-old winger. When looking at this for Carolina, I don't know how you're not a decent fan of this. There's definitely some concerns, and I'll probably dive into that deeper. But yeah, he's a top 60 to 90 skater in the NHL. This market was absolute dog shit. So although I maybe have some concerns with the player come playoff time and his injury availability, it's a good deal. It's only 6 years. It's not 7. And for like an actual, for like a team that's a little bit older, I guess like the 7th year wouldn't matter that much. But for Carolina, that probably is going to be a really good team for the next 10 years, not having to give up that 7th year is kind of important. He's amazing in transition, has consistently been one of the best transporters of the puck off the rush in the NHL. And that's something that Carolina doesn't struggle with, but something that they definitely need more of come playoff time. I hope that Rob Brindamore's more malleable with his system next season, because if you're just making him play Carolina Hurricanes hockey, Ehlers, he's not going to be even worth $8.5 million. But yeah, it looks like they're changing things, and they got, without a doubt, the best forward on the market. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's you have to look at this, I guess, as two different questions. First question, is this a good deal, a good pickup? Yeah, absolutely. You'd be insane to think otherwise. Ehlers, a near point a game player last year in under 16 minutes a night. He's deserving of top line minutes, and he probably can be an 80-point player if he ever actually got that 20 minutes a night level. He's hit 60 4 different times in Winnipeg, never having more than 18 minutes a night. The player's great. That's the first question, right? You'd be ridiculous to say it's a bad deal. You don't like the player. But really the more relevant question is like, will this be enough for Carolina to move them into the next tier of contender? And I'm not convinced it's enough. Ehlers isn't a huge goal scorer. He's not the sniper that Jake Gunsel is. He's not the deker and dangler that Mikko Rantanen can be at his peak. He wasn't that, frankly, in Carolina, but we know he can be that. We've seen it in Colorado and Dallas. Ehlers fills a need, but they still need more, right? We still need that puck mover on the blue line. I don't think Keandre Miller is the answer there. I don't think Erik Karlsson is the answer either, but that seems to be like the only name that's still being floated around in mid-July. I don't know what other target they could go for.
Yeah, it's interesting. They still have $10 million in salary cap, and I think that they do still need that top pair right-handed defenseman, unless Nikishin is going to play on the right side, which I've heard from Carolina Hurricanes fans. That's expecting a lot out of a rookie. I know that he is like 24 years old at this point, but yeah, would like to see a top pair right-handed defenseman. Would really like to see a second-line center, because like the whole thing with Ehlers is always been playing with Nemestikov the last couple of years. That's why like his numbers have not been like his numbers would be amazing with the number 2 center, but if they don't give him a number 2 center, if he's stuck with Jesperi Kotkaniemi, who I don't think would either be a talent or a good play style fit, you might just get some more of that. So there's still, I understand the Miller move, not as much as the Ehlers move, but like they brought in 2 good players at reasonable to a degree cap hits, but there still is clear needs with this team. Thankfully, they do have $10 million. But yeah, either a second line center or a right-handed defenseman is like essential for them at this point. Maybe it's not right now in the offseason. Maybe you're going to have to wait until the regular season, until the deadline, when teams start stinking it up and like a Brock Nelson type kind of come on the open market in terms of a trade. But yeah, right now they're still decently behind the Florida Panthers in the Eastern Conference. Everybody's behind the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, that's. I do want to push back just purely from talking about Ehlers' stats as if they're being held back by Nemesnikov, and I mean they are to an extent. He would put up better numbers if he had a better center with him. But like even strength per minute, I think his numbers, his
I got
scoring
the
numbers
stats.
have been amazing.
I got the stats if you want them. 16th. This is from Dmitry Filipovich. Great follow on Twitter. 16th in 5-on-5 points per 60. Meanwhile, 199th in 5-on-5 ice time per game. 26th in all situations per 60 in points. 194th in all situations. So he should be playing more, but also Carolina's got to get him a better second line center to get the most out of
Yeah,
him.
but
Or
it's
maybe he'll play in the
like
first line, but then
even
Svechnikov is not going to be effective as much playing with Kotkaniemi.
that's true. I mean, I would put him on the first line. I do think Ehlers is a better player than Svechnikov, like
Agreed. Yeah.
significantly better. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and as your numbers just showed there, Ehlers does have the scoring production. Literally, the only thing he didn't have in Winnipeg was the minutes. For whatever reason, multiple head coaches just didn't have any interest in playing him, even while, and you talk too about questioning him in the playoffs. He was their top scorer in the playoff series they lost this past year. So it's not like because he's a smaller, less defensive player, he's incapable of showing up in the playoffs.
I
He
do.
did, in fact, show up.
That was last year, last playoff run. I think he had 5 goals, 2 assists, 8 games played. Historically, though, it's not that good come playoff time. That is where I could understand some criticism and why this maybe isn't the perfect signing. In his career, he has 9 goals, 12 assists to 21 points in 45 playoff games. He's 5'11", 170 pounds. So there is some concerns. Again, I think that he's going to be fine in the playoffs, but when he doesn't have as much space and the physicality gets ramped up for a guy that is a speedy transitional player for the most part, it does make sense why he doesn't thrive as much in the playoffs. I think, as we talked about, he's going to have better players around him most likely. And there is some availability concerns with Ehlers. Here's just like what he's missed in the last couple of years: 9 games in 2021, 20 games in 2022, 37 games in 2023, 0 in 2024, and 13 this year. And in 2025 and 2023, those injuries bled into the playoffs, which is in part why his numbers maybe weren't so good in 2023. But yeah, there's some concerns. Although we like the player a lot, although he's a 5-on-5 demon, like there could be serious. Like it wouldn't shock me if in his first playoff run, he struggles a little bit. The Carolina Hurricanes.
It's possible, although I do think Winnipeg has a Toronto type problem where basically that entire team struggles come playoff time. We've
Mm-hmm.
seen it consistently. Their regular season outperform their playoff numbers. I mean, Mark Scheifele is not a notable playoff performer. Kyle Connor has not been a tremendous playoff performer. And Connor got
Connor showed
what?
up
Like,
this year, but yeah,
Connor
prior.
got about 4 minutes total in the Four Nations tournament and looked pretty brutal in
I think
those.
I think did he get healthy scratched in the final? I think he
He got
did.
healthy scratched in a couple games, including the
Yeah.
final. Yeah,
And honestly,
Connor
he was
Hellebuck, of
bad. Like
course,
I'm gonna be honest.
notoriously awful in the playoffs. So Winnipeg as a whole has been a really playoff struggling team, and like you've said, it's hard to defend those Ehlers playoff numbers on the whole. But the playoff numbers this season, Ehlers
Yeah.
looked better than some of the guys who are rated higher in Winnipeg than he was.
Yeah, and thankfully for Carolina, he only has to be their third best forward. Like
Yeah,
I
he
like
doesn't
Aho
have
a
to
lot
be
more,
like a
obviously.
top guy. If he's a 70-point wing that can mesh really well with Aho and Jarvis, you'll take
Yeah.
that.
I think Aho and Jarvis are both better players. So there's not going to be a ton. It's not like he's going to be the number one player on the team, like if he went to an Anaheim or something like that, where he'd be their no doubt number one forward. He just has to transport the puck, get him off the rush, and be solid in that regard, because that is something where Carolina does struggle to a decent degree in terms of breaking it out. They're a lot more counteractive of a team in terms of like letting you make a mistake and then they'll build off that. They need somebody that can spark the offense off the rush, and Ehlers is exactly that. Defensively, he's not that good, but I also just think like in the Rod Brindamore system, his numbers will improve a
Brindamore's
decent
hidden
amount.
worse players.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like Gensel made it work with Gensel for sure. So yeah, I think the job's not done for Carolina. They still have, as we talked about, 2 different positions to kind of fill. The right-handed defense one is going to be pretty hard in terms of bringing in a legit guy. the second line center, we can go through some names. I typed out some names in terms of like somewhat realistic options. Does
I'd love
Nazem
them to
Kadri?
trade for Marco Rossi. Why not? If anyone can work in the Brindamore system,
I don't know if
or
I
at least
love.
if anyone can be like hidden and covered for in the Brindamore system.
Yeah,
it's Marco
then
Rossi.
you definitely can't put Ehlers and Marco Rossi together. That line we get
No, you wouldn't.
caved
You
in.
put Rossi with a big guy
Svechnikov.
like Svechnikov.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a solid option. I don't know if they would invest that much in terms of two smaller guys, give them 15, $16 million combined and call it an offseason. I was looking at more of the veteran route, like a Nazem Kadri, perhaps. Does that titillate you at all, bringing him in as a second line center?
Not really. I don't think Kadri adds a whole lot more offense than this current group. And given his age and the term left on his contract, I think there's a real risk that it could
Yeah.
disrupt plans for, because Carolina's window isn't one season. We're looking
Mhm.
at 4 seasons, 5 seasons from now. So if Kadri makes things much more difficult to build around in 3 years, it's not a good move.
Yeah, I think I do agree. It is 4 years left at $7 million. He turns 35 in October. So from that perspective, unless you're getting him at like $1 to $2 million retention and you're only giving up like the equivalent of like a first round pick and maybe like a half decent prospect, I'd probably stay away. What about Ryan O'Reilly? Only 2 years at 4.5. I think that
Uh,
makes
I
more
like
sense.
Ryan O'Reilly as a solid guy. I don't think O'Reilly is going to be the game changer that pushes them over the edge, but at his contract, he doesn't have to be.
Yeah,
If you're a pretty good 2C, that's fine.
yeah. If it doesn't work, you can always just bring in a second line center and push him down to third line center because it is only $4.5 million. That's solid third line center money. Jared McCann has experience playing center. That's one that kind of like caught my eye. If he's potentially available and he does offer a shit ton of goal scoring, having a 40 goal season, having like another 30 goal, I don't know. Like I didn't really look into too much how much experience he has playing center. He has been on the wing in Seattle, but yeah, 29 years old, $5 million for 2 more years, same age as Nikolai Ehlers. I think that one could be, and they have all the assets in the world to potentially land him for like 2 first round picks equivalent. I think that one's pretty interesting.
Yeah, if he's available, I love that. McCann got his breakout essentially as Pittsburgh's 2C filling in when Malkin was
Mm.
injured. He's been a wing, when Crosby and Malkin are both healthy, he was on the wing there, and he's been on the wing full time in Seattle. But he has, on a playoff competitive team in games that mattered, shown up to be a 2C. Um, if Seattle makes him available, he's easily the best goal scorer available, the best one that's feasible to get
Mm-hmm.
before next summer. So I would love that for Carolina. I just didn't even consider him because it seems like he's not really available. I'm not hearing his name in a ton of trade talks, but if it's up there, absolutely. I would give 2 firsts or the equivalent in top prospects
Yeah,
for Jared
Dallas
McCann.
first and Artemanov or something like that. I floated the Matty Beniers trade. I know you weren't as high on that one. You're not a big fan of Matty Beniers at this point. I understand he
No, I
doesn't
mean,
offer a lot goal scoring in terms of fit, but
yeah, Beniers. Carolina needs goal scoring, right? If Beniers is going to score 40 points and play shutdown center, we have Jared Stahl at home.
Jordan Stahl.
Jordan Stahl,
Jared
yes.
Stahl. Yeah, I think William Karlsson was another interesting potential guy. Wait, did I say William Karlsson? Wait,
You
what did I say?
did,
Okay,
William
I thought I
Karlsson.
said Eric Carlson for a
William
second.
Karlsson is,
Could
if he
make
was
sense, but
available, it would
not
be
anymore.
phenomenal. Yeah, it's
When it was like they needed Marner money,
when
I
when it
thought that
looked
made
like
sense.
Vegas needed the cap space to bring
Mhm.
Marner in, William Karlsson would have been a phenomenal get. But Vegas made it work without having to trade him away, and it's not like Vegas is going to trade him away for cheap. That's a really
No,
good 2A 2C on a pretty cheap
he's making
contract.
$5.9 million. Yeah, I think those are like the somewhat like obviously people talk about like Tage Thompson. He's not going to be available until at least next summer if they really suck. But yeah, those are like the somewhat realistic ones. I think that they're just gonna have to wait until the deadline though, unfortunately. And
Probably.
that's not the
It
worst
sounds
thing
like
in the world.
Rossi is the only one who's like actually being shopped
Mm-hmm.
around. But frankly, if anyone wanted Marco Rossi, I think
They
that
would have.
trade would have happened by
Yeah.
now.
I
So the
said I
fact
said
that
it
it
like a month ago.
hasn't,
I said he's gonna sign in
you
Minnesota for like
did,
a
you
cheap
did. And I
deal.
didn't want to believe it then, but at this point, it sure looks like it's headed
He's
that
gonna
way.
as much as we would want to give him $7 million, like these GMs do think alike. They want their big boys, especially if they play the center position. Like they're not willing to invest that much for a smaller skill guy.
which is, again, it's kind of strange to me. I mean, Marco Rossi is Minnesota's number 2 scorer from last year, is he not? Because Kaprizov missed all that time. I'm
Erickson
not
like missed
saying
time as
Rossi is
well.
necessarily their third best player, but he's in the
He's their
conversation. He could
fourth. He's
develop
safely
into
their
that.
their fourth best player and still growing. But okay, we're gonna move on from Carolina talk. Isaac Howard for Sam O'Reilly. Of course, Isaac Howard said, "I ain't signing my ELC," and basically Tampa was like, "We got to trade him this summer. We got to get something for him instead of the compensation, like late second round pick that they got." So yeah, they shipped him off to the Edmonton Oilers for Sam O'Reilly. I guess I'll just start on Isaac Howard. Pretty solid prospect. Again, the names of the Hobie Bakers winners get floated around a lot. We talked about it in our group chat, like how it's recently celebrating Fantilli. Those guys were freshmen and it was in their draft year compared to Isaac Howard in his draft year +3. He's definitely closer to Gaudette and VC in terms of what to expect at the NHL level. Those guys, granted, although Edmonton isn't like a development hub, those guys went to the New York Rangers and the Vancouver Canucks, which was kind of unfortunate. But yeah, I like Isaac Howard a decent amount. 26 goals, 26 assists, 52 points this year. Very good skater. A little bit undersized, but like 190 pounds at 5'11, so he's pretty thick and just makes a lot of shit happen. On this Michigan State team, their next leading scorer only had 31 points, so he really carried that offense compared to even like a VC. A VC had Donato and Kerfoot on his college team. Cadet had some other solid pieces. I think in Edmonton, if they actually give him a chance, which like their wing depth is really nothing special heading into next season, if they give him, if as long as they don't treat him like Dylan Holloway, I think he can have a solid impact. I don't expect him to ever be a 65, 70 point guy unless it's riding shotgun on a McDavid Hart season. Like he's definitely going to be inflated at first just because he might play with those guys. But yeah, he has all the makings of being a very solid middle six scorer. You go first on Isaac Howard. I'll dive into Sam O'Reilly after in the Tampa return.
Yeah, I think that Isaac Howard's a nice prospect to have. Did he probably get severely overrated within the last like 2 or 3 months? Yeah, I think so, because the group of upperclassmen to win the Hobie Baker is not terribly special.
Yeah.
And because it just seemed a general like inflating of hype once it became clear he was on the trade block. Everyone's trying to get themselves excited for bringing him in. I don't think he's going to be a phenomenal game breaking player, but Edmonton has clear needs for, we need someone to stick on the wing of either McDavid or Draisaitl who can keep up with them skating wise and who's really cheap.
Not a
And
Vander
getting
Kane.
Isaac Howard on an ELC fits that bill. Does it do anything other than fit that narrow spot and give you anything extra? I kind of doubt it, but he's replacing like who? Corey Perry functionally.
Evander Kane,
Like,
probably. Not obviously like play style wise, but yeah, to play with
like
well,
the
Evander Kane didn't
number
play
of
in the regular season
minutes
last
you
year.
would get with their top 2 guys. And, Isaac Howard's more capable of keeping up with McDavid's speed than Corey Perry is. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I think Mangiapane's probably going to start on the third line. They obviously have Hyman and RNH. They kick him out to the wing, but besides that, there's really not much. They don't have Arvidsson anymore. They don't have Skinner. Trent Frederick's not going to be playing within the top 6. Like they needed a skill guy. Versus Tampa Bay, it's the exact opposite. They don't need another Isaac Howard within their forward core, which is why I think they also did pretty solid. I'm not that high on Sam O'Reilly just because I don't think that the offensive tools are quite there to be a difference maker. He is definitely more so of like just a bottom 6, either really good fourth line center or potentially like a solid third line two-way guy, wins a lot of faceoffs. But I guess for Tampa, although there's like no sure thing in terms of like a prospect of his caliber panning out, I do understand the return here where they had their top 6 and basically like top 9 at this point locked up with Bjorkstrand and Gord coming back, where like they think Sam O'Reilly in 2 to 3 years can be an effective fourth line center for them versus Isaac Howard. You can't play him in a 12-minute a night role, more so defensive. So I even think for Tampa, they also did pretty solid here. O'Reilly's definitely worth more than the late second round pick that they would have gotten back. Probably would rather have him than early-ish second, mid-second, I'd say. So like I think that it is a win-win considering both parties and what happened.
Yeah, Tampa should be happy with this. I mean, they got a late first round pick essentially for their late first round pick. There's no huge gap in value. I doubt there was anything significantly better out there, and it makes sense as a return.
Yeah, yeah, and just when looking at it, with this stuff, first off, it's hilarious that like we talked about the no state income tax just so much on this podcast and just so much in hockey Discord. And an American prospect in a no state income tax team said, "Fuck it, I'm getting out of here. I'm going to Edmonton." Like that really caught my eye, and I think compared to like an Adam Fox, I've said it before. Like Adam Fox, what he did was kind of soft. Like basically just telling every team, telling the Calgary Flames, I ain't signing with you. It ain't happening. Carolina, you traded for me. I'm not signing. Send me to the Rangers. I think Isaac Howard's does make a decent amount of sense given the context of their top nine was basically locked in. Like he was not going to play a huge role and play a huge role in the next 2 to 3 to 4 even years, considering the wingers that they have in Tampa. So I think that this is a situation that you really shouldn't criticize him that much. He's definitely going to get criticized because in his draft year at the draft, he had the most swaggy suit of all time. He's definitely a big personality, but I do understand this compared to like a Cutter Gauthier, compared to an Adam Fox, where they just wanted nothing to do with that team and basically cut off all communication. I think that this one is pretty justifiable given the context. And even if he did pan out on Tampa, like we agree, they're going to suck in 4 to 5 years. That's just the natural evolution. Their entire core is like above the age of 29.
It's definitely a big difference between Isaac Howard saying I don't want to play in this one place and Adam Fox saying I only want to play
Yeah,
in this
true.
one place.
Yeah, yeah.
The Gauthier situation was its own bizarre thing, which, frankly, the only difference between Gauthier and Isaac Howard is Gauthier was drafted so early that, like, Philly feels like it was a total waste of everything, a waste of a year in the rebuild to have to deal with that. Whereas Isaac Howard at 31, like if your 31st overall pick doesn't play an NHL game for you, it's not the most surprising thing. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I think the Cutter Gauthier one, I think it was he wanted to sign immediately after his freshman year, which is definitely valid to a degree to be mad at that. But I think apparently he just like stopped talking to the Flyers altogether after that, like basically ended the relationship, which I do think is a little bit extreme because they would have allowed him to play in a pretty sizable role last season, I think, if he ended up signing. So yeah, Howard, I'm not going to kill him for this. He's going to be definitely a controversial player going forward. With these guys that pull this, the baggage kind of follows them around for a couple of years. Hopefully, for his sake, it ends up working out. And yeah, he's going to a much better spot, at least in the short term, in the long term, for his potential development, just because Edmonton has so many spots open.
Agreed.
All right, McKenna to Penn State in the CHL AHL agreement. Gavin McKenna heading to college hockey. We knew that he was heading to college hockey like basically the entire spring. Ends up going to Penn State. Pretty crazy story. Penn State didn't have a D1 hockey team until like 2012. Ended up winning the Big Ten championship back in 2017. This year made the Frozen Four. They landed Luke Misa like months ago. They landed Jackson Smith like 2 weeks ago. Now they're getting McKenna. Now they might get Porter Martone if he ends up not making the Philadelphia Flyers. I feel like that's a lock if he doesn't, just because he stays in the area. But yeah, Penn State's like the favorite to win the Frozen Four. They're like plus 360. Boston, Michigan, and Michigan State are like 800 to 900. I don't know if I'd go that extreme with it. It's awesome for college hockey, although I'm not the biggest Penn State fan for obvious reasons. It's cool to see him play Big Ten hockey. It's cool to see another program, even if it is Penn State, kind of rise to prominence. So we have some more big time schools that are more so known for football also really investing in college hockey. $700,000 is absolutely insane, but it makes sense considering the eyeballs that this kid is going to bring to the table, although he's maybe not the most electric personality. I don't know if you watched his college announcement. He's not oozing personality per se, but yeah, I'm really excited for it. What do you think is a realistic stat line to expect from Gavin McKenna this season? Eichel put up 26 goals, 45 assists, 71 points in 40 games at Boston University.
That seems ambitious, but Penn State does have talent around him, so that's possible.
I think he should put up that. I'm gonna be honest. Like I'm not gonna be like if he puts up. I think as long as he's over, I think he's got to be over 1.6 points per game. That's what like Celebrini was, and Celebrini definitely was a presumptive first overall pick coming into the season, but it was not generational by any means. I'm not saying he's going for like Paul Correa, like 100 points in 39 games and not being ridiculous like that. But yeah, he's definitely the heavy favorite to win the Hobie Baker ahead of Higgins or someone else.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that 1.5 per game is the baseline,
Yeah.
and the higher he does above that, the more impressed you can be. But like 1.5 per game shouldn't have people worrying about like a Higgins level slide. Like that's
No,
very
no, no, no.
good.
Yeah,
It's just
I'm not saying that, but when you do look at Fantilli, you do look at Celebrini, and I think Fantilli had more to work with at Michigan, and Celebrini had Lane Hudson playing with him. But yeah, I think when you look at some of these guys and what they did in their freshman year and their draft year recently, I think it is reasonable to expect like 1.6 points per game and as high as 1.8.
it doesn't feel useful arguing over the difference between 1.5 and 1.6 points per game.
Yeah,
It
that's
doesn't.
fair. That's definitely fair. But I'm expecting
My
a whole be.
takes on this in the bigger scheme of things,
Yeah.
which is what interests me. Number one, don't buy the Penn State hype just yet because we've seen very often that these NHL top prospect super team of freshmen tend to lose in the Frozen Four
Mm-hmm.
or round of eight to more well-rounded, more experienced teams. Like it would not be shocking at all for a Denver or a Quinnipiac team that has very few top NHL prospects to end up beating Penn State in a one game in the Frozen Four.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's crazy that they're that high of favorites. I understand they might have the best player in the country, but Jackson Smith, I don't expect to like be like 1.1, even a point per game probably next season. That would kind of surprise me if he was above that. I think they're bringing back Aiden Fink, Charlie Serrato, who are very good players. Luke Misa should not going to be like a top 20 player in college hockey next year. So like, yeah, the fact that there's such favorites and they are going to be experienced, some of the other guys, the team that they bring back for the most part, but yeah, their star guys are going to be 17, 18 years old. So I think that, yeah, I agree with you on that. I understand them being the favorite, but having twice as likely as other teams that are bringing back a lot of guys, a lot of top end guys is a little bit shocking.
Yeah, just the recent history of college hockey doesn't back up the idea that the team with the most impressive star freshman NHL prospects ends up winning the trophy at the end. That very rarely actually works out that way.
Yeah, but it's going to be a very interesting season. We got McKenna and Smith at Penn State. Lindstrom's going to Michigan State. Verhoff, Reshnita, Nodak, Spence, Muse, Ivan Kovic to Michigan. I feel so bad for the 2023 and 2024 drafted guys that signed their ELCs and are like, fuck, they got to go to the AHL or stay in the CHL instead of being able to go to college. Because like Zane Perek or something like that, or maybe they could have went the college route. Yeah, it's unfortunate in that degree, but it's going to be interesting. Another thing with the CHL, they came to an agreement with the AHL. CHLers that are 19 years old will now be allowed to play in the AHL starting in 2026, 2027. Thank God. I hated this rule for so long. I understand that the CHL wanted to keep their guys, but once they sign their ELC, they should be able to go to the AHL. When looking back on it, a guy like Kevin Korchinski, after dominating the WHL in his draft year +1, he had to either stay in the NHL or go back to the CHL that he just dominated. The Blackhawks decided to keep him at the NHL level, and he kind of struggled a decent amount defensively at the NHL level, kind of hurt his development. For guys like this season, if Zane Perek doesn't exactly kill it at the NHL level, like a Sam Dickinson, to be able to go up and down instead of back to the CHL where they are so clearly the best players in those leagues, it's a really good thing. It's going to be detrimental for the CHL. We don't really care that much about the CHL, so we're in favor of this, I assume. Yeah, it's
No,
good.
this specific rule is what's going to help the CHL because it's their last resort for like without this they would just be losing everyone in the future to the college route. Like they needed this to stay even remotely competitive, keeping top guys away
Fair.
from college hockey.
I guess, yeah. If you have the mobility versus college, like you have to, once you sign that ELC, you can't go back to college. That's fair. I didn't think about it that way. But yeah,
Yeah,
still,
this is like without this rule, I don't imagine like any future players on Zane Perrick's level would ever choose to stay in the CHL. They would simply go the college route, wait a year or two to sign an ELC, because the NCAA, frankly, is a better development league. The average quality of talent is better there.
The
Guys
resources
who
are
have
much
already
better.
been, yes, better training, better coaching. Seeing guys who have already been NHL lottery picks put up video game numbers in the WHL doesn't really mean anything after a while.
You tell me Andrew Crystal should have been at the AHL or college level when he had 132 points this season? Bull take. But what was I going to say? I was going to say something. What the CHL has to do, they have to lower the age. They have to allow like 15-year-olds. They have to have like a 15 to 19-year-old league because with this rule, with guys going down the college route, like you got to let them into the CHL earlier and just understand that it is more so of a proper junior league compared to guys 20 years old battling it out with no real future at a college, at a pro hockey career. Make it 15. Most people will be out of the league by 19. And I think that that's how the CHL survives. They can't compete with college hockey, as we talked about. Yeah, that's just what they have to do going forward.
Yeah, there's too much money in college hockey these days. There's no way practically to entice, a 19, 20-year-old to stay in the CHL instead of college, especially one who's like good enough that they should be well beyond that. Like the next generation of Shane Wrights is not going to be interested in random WHL demotions.
Shane Wright. What a day. What a throwback. The thing, actually, I wanted to bring this up. I forgot what the Gavin McKenna talk. I saw something interesting on a podcast, Russ Joy or something like that. McKenna, for next season, after he gets drafted, do you think that there's at all a chance that Penn State offers him like 1.5, $2 million and he stays at Penn State and just signs in the spring? Because then he'd still burn the year of the ELC. I understand that his
don't
NHL
believe
team,
that purely because I don't believe anyone is willing to pay that level of money for a college hockey player these days. Gavin McKenna just set the record for the
before
biggest
he played a single
money.
game. If
but
Penn
you're
State's
expecting
awesome
them to double
and
that.
loses
You're
in the
expecting
national
them to
championship,
double that next year.
Dude,
I don't buy it.
Like if he is as good as a lot of people think that he is, maybe not you with 1.5 points per game, but if he's as good as advertised, like yes, I could see Penn State ponying up. Maybe not for Gavin McKenna just because he is going to be NHL ready next season. But if the money continues to grow so much, you could see a scenario because again, unlike
if the money grows, yes, not doubling the old record that McKenna just set
that's fair
within 1 year.
Because the whole thing with Cooper Flagg, why it was so unbelievably stupid how people are like, oh, maybe Duke will pony up $15 million to keep him for another year. Like the thing with college basketball is you can't sign in the spring. Like you enter the draft, and then you're that team's property, basically. But for the NHL, the aspect of being able to play in college hockey, make that money, make more than the ELC, and then still sign in the spring and burn that year of the ELC definitely makes it interesting. Definitely makes it interesting going forward. And I know that there's bonuses. And that's why, again, McKenna probably would sign because he believes he could hit those bonuses. But it's just something as the college landscape continues to increase in terms of NIL, hopefully like it should. It's never going to be a college basketball or college football, but hopefully it continues to increase. And that could happen. It's not out of the realm of possible. I heard that, and at first I was like, what are you talking about? But then like with the signing in the spring, it does make it interesting. With Cooper Flagg, again, he'd be offsetting his supermax. Not the case with Gavin McKenna.
In a universe where college hockey makes that much money in the future, maybe sure. I'm not an expert on college hockey financials, but I would feel pretty comfortable guessing that if Penn State literally went this season undefeated, never lost a game, won the championship, they would not be making $1.5 million of profit. That the economics of college hockey just do not work that way.
But I mean, the thing with this is, like, I don't even know. Like, well, the football programs aren't operating at a profit, but they fucking toss money.
The football programs get literal billion-dollar TV contracts. College hockey doesn't get that. College basketball gets those TV contracts. Football and basketball, those are the two. where you get like significant conference money from TV.
They got the Big Ten Network. They have some. I get what you mean with like the major providers and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean the thing with a lot of the NIL, like the boosters know they're not going to get a return on investment with some of the players. Like
it's possible there, but you would need a booster who cares that much about hockey. If one of those guys happens to exist for Penn State, awesome. I figure he would want to like be a celebrity and make his name known in the college hockey world, that he's going to be the big spender. I just don't think that exists right now. The economics for it, that kind of
imagine Gavin McKenna enters the transfer portal like next offseason. The bidding war begins and he makes $2 million. I'm just saying it's definitely something to keep an eye on potentially. And guys like not Gavin McKenna's status, but guys are going to stay in school if they can have $400,000 guaranteed compared to maybe going in the AHL and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it could be the difference between like a Cole Hudson tier player spending 2 years playing college versus 3 years.
Yeah, definitely. Cam York, 5 years, $5.15 million. I like this deal a decent amount. Last year was a shit show for the Philadelphia Flyers, so I'm not even going to reference it. But the prior year, he had 30 points, 82 games, playing 22, 37 a night. He plays with Sanheim for the most part, so he definitely has a good partner. He's had pretty good underlying numbers. He's 24 years old. Philly definitely needs to bring in some kind of number one defenseman eventually or draft some number one defenseman. But Cam York in a second pairing role for basically his entire prime between the ages of like 25 to 29 gets my thumb of approval. What do you think?
I'm going to struggle to come up with anything that's not repeating exactly what you just said.
But you're being
no, I mean, it's a good deal. Yeah, Cam York is a perfectly fine second pair D. The Flyers are getting him for his entire prime, and they're getting him at a cap hit that's pretty generous for a second pair D. Is Cam York ever going to reach the offensive ceiling that the Flyers probably hoped he would as a top prospect? It's possible he still has room to grow, but I seriously doubt it. I don't think he's ever going to be a legit top pair guy. But as a two-way second pair defenseman who's very responsible defensively and, contributes enough offense, he's never going to blow you away with his playmaking or with a slap shot, but, enough offense. He's a good second pair guy.
Yeah, when in the summer where Romanov gets $6.25 million, Kevin Ball got like 5.34.
I would rather have Cam York than Kevin Ball straight up.
Yeah. Romanov, I think there's an argument for York over Romanov, and I do like Romanov a decent amount. So, yeah, good work by Philadelphia. I've liked a lot of their deals. Not Cam York again. Noah Cates, another C. But Noah Cates, like that, 4x4. So, yeah.
I said it. That was a good contract under the radar.
Briere is signing some guys. I understand that he doesn't want to go with 8 years for these guys because they're not completely proven fully in terms of like on good teams, solid players. But yeah, he's investing, getting some surplus value for when this team hopefully eventually does hit their window in 2 to 3 years. He's going to have a lot of solid contracts. Going to have to move out of Sean Couturier kind of contract. But for the most part, a lot of these guys are pretty cost controlled going forward. Owen Tippett's at like 6.25 for the next 6 seasons. Like, they're doing solid. They need Porter Martone to hit. They need probably another.
They need high end talent.
They need another top 8 pick next year for sure.
Top end guys.
They need Keaton Verhoff next year. That would maybe end their rebuild if they can land a Keaton Verhoff type of legit top pair offensive defenseman, especially a righty, considering they have so many lefties in the system. Then it would really be go time for the Philadelphia Flyers. But yeah, they're doing solid. Although I didn't have them in my top 10 prospect pools, and people thought I was crazy. I did put them at 11. It's been a solid, decent offseason by the Philadelphia Flyers. I've liked what they're cooking.
You were right to keep them out of that top prospect list.
Again, I had them 11.
Luchenko is going to win the heart.
Yeah, people still. Luchenko went 13th overall.
Jet Luchenko stands. Get on here. We know you're out there. We know you guys watch the show.
They love him. All right, two contracts got dumped in the past 2 weeks. Matt Dumba went to the Pittsburgh Penguins for a 2028. Well, him and a 2028 second round pick went to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Yeah, good work by Kyle Dubas in an offseason where we've seen people take on horrible contracts or basically nothing or give up stuff. Cough, cough, pat for beak. It was pretty solid. It's a horrible deal by Jim Nill. We knew it like the second that it was signed. Dallas now has $2 million in salary cap space. Similarly to Carolina, I don't think that they're going to be able to fill that right-handed defenseman role at this point in the offseason, maybe come deadline time. But yeah, good job by Dubas. They have 7 second-round picks in the next 3 drafts. That's nuts.
Yeah, Kyle Dubas loves his second-round picks. Solid get for him. Dallas, it's kind of confusing why now.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't know. It'd be one thing if this was like coordinated with a Thomas Harley extension announced soon after. But I'm not sure what you need the money for this year, unless you're literally thinking that just like, any AHL plug will be better and it's addition by subtraction, which you're probably not even wrong if you're thinking that.
Yeah, it's probably just Liam Bichelle is going to have to play on the right side for this season, or Hartley or Heiskanen will have to play together, one of them on the right side. Yeah, I guess he just drove a hard bargain in terms of not wanting to give up any assets for Dumba, and then he just reached a point where like we need to get him off this goddamn team, so I'll give up the second round pick now. He thought that it would eventually come down to a 4th, to a 5th. A Pat Verbeek would eventually bail him out or something like that, and it just never happened. And it's not like he has $5-6 million and he would have been able to re-sign Granlund at this point. They're still tight up against the cap, but now they're actually cap compliant going forward.
Yeah, they have enough breathing room that you're allowed to trade for someone at the deadline now.
Yeah, but it's going to accrue, and then they'll eventually have like $5-6 million or something come deadline time. So yeah, they got some breathing room. They got to start working on Robertson and Harley extensions for next season. That doesn't kick in until 2026, 2027. But yeah, they had to do some shenanigans this offseason, and Hartley's not taking the same AAV. His is probably going to double from $4 to $8 million. Robertson's going to go from 7.75 to probably like sniffing 10. So yeah, they're not out of the woods in terms of that. Sagan does expire in 2 years. That'll help a decent amount, but in the meantime, it's still tight.
If Harley takes 8 long term, he should fire his agent.
I'm telling you, he's gonna come in like right at the Heiskanen number. That's going to happen. Dude, after he had 15 goals, 32 assists, 47 points, he took $4 million for 2 years.
He took a discount on that first bridge contract. If he wants
huge
to
discount.
Go long term, he should be getting Bouchard money.
Yeah, but he won't, because it's going to be, he's like, yeah, Robertson surely will not take 8.4, which is where Hintz, Heiskanen, and Wyatt Johnston are. Like Robertson has to.
Robertson's a much better player than
and has such a track record. Like he has to get. I'm not saying he's going to be at Rantanen levels, but maybe he is. That's why they were shopping him potentially.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be one of those things where if Dallas is going to be insistent on an internal cap based on a player they signed years ago, they're just going to end up losing the star player.
Yeah, Heiskanen, of course.
Saw Colorado do that with Rantanen.
Yeah, Heiskanen was a really good player, but had not fully broken out when he signed that 8x8.4. Versus Harley, now we have 2 seasons of him being a top 20-ish defenseman in the NHL. He was number 15 on my list, I think.
Yeah, and Heiskanen's, of course, was signed when the cap was flat, which is a huge difference.
And it was off his ELC, so it was RFA years compared to Harley.
Yes.
2 to 3 years away from UFA. But yeah, Dallas, going to be interesting the next 12 months watching their contract situation. Another salary dump. Reaves for Henry Thrun. When looking at it, Reaves makes $1.35 million for another season. Similarly to Dumba, we knew that this deal sucked the second that it was signed. Thrun only makes $1 million. People are acting like this was the greatest deal of all time for Brad Treliving, and Mike Rear was dumb as hell. I see the positives for both teams. Reaves was above the minimum, bad player. Thrun maybe could be something, although I expect him to play for the Marlies next year. And for San Jose, he helps them get to the cap floor and stay there if they end up trading guys, which you probably will trade guys. He can be a locker room presence. And they have 6 potential NHL left-handed defensemen for next season. And Thrun was also like kind of a bad player. He's 24, but he has not proven anything. So yeah, this makes sense for both parties, and people acted like this was the steal of the decade. Some people.
No, I mean, it's a swap of AHLers. I expect Reaves to actually play in the NHL because the Sharks forward depth isn't really there. Yeah. But like, this is a swap of AHLers, and the Leafs are saving like $300,000 in terms of like actual cap, as far as, because Reaves was making too much to be fully buried in the AHL, but it was pretty close. You're not really saving $1.3 million. You're saving much less.
Yeah, and again, he only has 1 year left. I don't know why people are acting like, if he had 2 to 3 years left, yeah, I'd be like, what is Greer doing? But like, they're giving Skinner $3 million. They're giving Orlov $6.5 million. Like, money doesn't matter to them. And yes, I guess they could have maybe got Thrun, a 7th round pick for Thrun, but like, there wasn't a market out there. And yeah, I don't know. It's perfectly fine. People are ridiculous. In a world where Verbeek's taking on Trouba for 2 years at $8 million, like, can we relax on this?
If Thrun ever has any kind of an impact for the Toronto Maple Leafs, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah, we'll have an apology podcast if he plays like a full season and is like above 40% WAR.
I literally will, just like literally that's it. If he like exists on the ice for 50 games and isn't just someone who starts with the Marlies, gets called up for 2 weeks when someone gets hurt, then goes on waivers and gets grabbed by Anaheim.
If he plays above 50 games, above 17 minutes, it has above a 40% WAR, we'll have an apology podcast. Hold it to us. We'll break down Henry Thrun tape and why he was so effective for the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll put our money where our mouth is. I think we're done on that. Q&A. We asked you guys to send in some questions, some hockey related, some not. We got 6 of them we're going to go through. You want to start with the I think we got 3 hockey ones, 3 kind of non-hockey ones. One could be a hockey one, but you want to start with hockey? Start with hockey?
Let's start with hockey.
Everybody's clicking off. All right. This is from Kalen Dean. Who will be the biggest fall off next season? I assume that this is just in teams raw point total.
Team raw point total.
Let's do a 3-2-1. Let's do a 3-2-1.
Okay.
I just said. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Washington
Capitals. Yeah, I think so. For me, it's the Capitals, Jets, or Flames. I know I was wrong so much about the Flames last season, but yeah, it's like the 2 teams that far exceed expectations, and I think you probably agree they easily could be playoff teams. I probably pick them to be playoff teams, but 114 points and 111 points, like, they're not repeating that.
No, Washington can drop 15 points and make the playoffs, which is
in a divisional spot in the Metro Division too.
Yeah. I mean, the Devils ended up with a divisional spot with how many points did they have last year? 93?
Yeah, I think 93. So yeah, like everybody had a career year on Washington.
It's a nice team. They're set up decently for the future, but a combination of that entire team had career year breakouts, and they didn't really do anything to get better this year. So
yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Logan Thompson will regress a little bit. It is what it is.
Yeah, Winnipeg losing Ehlers, replacing him with like Jonathan Toews and Gustav Nyquist. Like, I still think they're going to be a playoff team. Hellebuyck just is that good in the regular season, and they still have an amazing top line as well as a pretty solid defense core. But they could easily be 100 points means a 14-point loss, which could easily lead the entire NHL.
It could.
Thoughts on the Flames? Am I just being a hater? Am I trying to finally be right about this team for once?
I think so. I think the Flames are fine. The sleeper to look at is like, what if the Pittsburgh Penguins go so nuclear that they end up falling like 20 points off of what they did last season? That's the one outside the box pick to me.
Yeah. If they fully commit, if they trade 2 of Rust, Carlson, and Raquel, like, shit could get bad. Even if they the same team, if God forbid a Sidney Crosby injury happened, that team would completely fall off a cliff.
Yes.
That's a good pick. Well, what were they at? I think they were like right around 500, 81 points. So yeah, they could easily be in the 60s. Would not shock me one bit. All right, we're going to do a non-hockey one.
All right.
From Brooksy92, your guys' death row last meals. What do you got?
Lemon pepper chicken. Let's go with.
Just like a nicely prepared lemon pepper sandwich?
Yeah.
Any sauces on that sandwich or just plain lemon pep?
No, get some.
You got to draw a picture.
Through that hard. Yeah. Bail me out here.
This guy has previously showed up to the podcast with Dave's hot chicken. He runs on chicken. All right, lemon pepper sandwich. That's respectable. I'm also going chicken, a chicken vodka wrap from Gianni's from our hometown. Like
That's
it,
the good
it feels
stuff.
horrible after like 3 to 4 hours in your stomach, but like when you're eating it, it's orgasmic. Like it is amazing. So yeah,
Can
like if you never had
confirm
it,
that's the good stuff.
anything vodka sauce, like yeah, is just special. And we grew up in a very Italian area. Like they know how to freaking prepare it. So whether it's penne vodka, vodka slice, chicken vodka wrap, give me vodka sauce. That's amazing. Another hockey one from Hest. I'll just put his name up for this one. Do you see McKenna having a better career than Bedard, just individually, no like team stuff? What do you think? McKenna
Uh,
versus Bedard.
I will take Bedard, which I think is going to blow people's minds, but I'm going to lock in on Bedard's equivalent world junior had 8 points in 7 games. McKenna had 1 in 5.
Ooh.
Um,
McKenna's
that's
WHL numbers are better
pretty
though.
big. They are, but I value the best on best disparity over like, well, he scored insane, but he scored insane plus 20 in the
Yeah.
WHL.
Another thing with that is, yeah, McKenna played on a far better WHL team. The Regina Pats stunk with Bedard. They completely fumbled him. I'll probably go with Bedard as well. I feel like I love McKenna. I think he's going to be a stud, but I think he is getting a little bit overhyped just because like Bedard has not exactly lived up to the generational status. Like they're pumping up the next guy, but yeah, I think McKenna does a lot of things very good. I think that he's a very slippery player, and I think elusiveness is probably his number one trait right now. But I don't think it's as good as a Bedard shot. And I think Bedard is kind of being underrated right now. I saw Jay Fresh did some forward pull, and Celebrini was like 18 spots ahead of Bedard. Good Lord. Bedard needs to be given solid talent, and I still think that his shot is just so special. I'm still not sure if McKenna has that special ability. And also, he's a center versus a winger, and I know Bedard sucks at faceoffs, but I think he'll improve on that. So I think I'm sticking with Bedard, but both should be franchise superstars.
Agreed.
Aye, Bab's favorite topic to talk about next. The real leggy RT says, do you guys see the MCU recovering at all? Mostly movies and shows after Endgame are ass. I'll let you go first. Babs is a big cinephile. Like, he'll watch the French New Wave and stuff like that. I tend to be more of the MCU type
I was
beast.
so excited for this topic coming up. No, it will not go back. And I'll give you, I could spend literally an hour on this, but I'll do two main reasons to just really get quick at it. Number one, a lot of the old movies also weren't actually
No,
that good,
no.
but people put up with them
Oh,
for the sake of like we were
oh.
interested in the overall story. Where's this going, right? I mean, you can't convince me that Iron Man 2 and Thor 2 are
Yeah,
noticeably better
those
movies
are the two
than the
ones.
very recent ones.
But
But
those are the two ones that were like the worst of the first three phases.
no, but they
Just
could
cherry picking.
survive bad movies back then because people were invested in the overall story. Now there's no overall story that people are invested in, so they're less willing to put up with a bad one here and there. Number two is that the only ones to make $1 billion since Endgame are the Spider-Man with all of the cameos from the 2000s and the Deadpool with all of the cameos from the 2000s. So I don't know what lesson you want Marvel to get out of all this, except audiences don't actually care if it's like good or not. Just cameos from the 2000s equals more money. That's the lesson they're going to
That's
learn
fair.
from this.
That's
That's
fair.
what the producers are going to take.
I agree on the current trajectory. Just having all these sequels, having all this slop cameo fest, it won't recover. It will not recover. It's too bloated right now. I know that they said they're going to trim it down a little bit, but having 3 movies and 4 or 5 TV shows every single year is absolutely ridiculous. The way it recovers is after Secret War, you basically just reboot. You go to the Fantastic Four's timeline or something like that, and you just start the Mutant Saga. You forget like most of the Avengers characters right now, and you just go like clean slate. I think that's the only way, and build up those characters because they still haven't done Wolverine and in the proper and like obviously Hugh Jackman, they brought him over. They're probably gonna milk him to God knows what in Secret Wars and Doomsday. But you gotta just start from scratch, maybe start in the 60s, 70s, and build up the X-Men and stuff like that, and abandon the Avengers for a while. You like
I
that?
think a lot of it is going to come down to just like following through on having some kind of a story to look forward to. I
Yeah.
think people at this point feel too snake bitten by like, oh, Harry Styles was going to be in one of
I
these. Mahershala
forgot.
Ali was going to be in one of these. Wasn't Charlize Theron in one of these
She
credit
was in
scenes? And then
the
none of
Doctor
these
Strange
people
one.
show up in real movies.
Yeah.
Haley Steinfeld was in a TV show 4 years ago. Where is she in any of these movies? That's an actor people might be excited to see in one of these, but they don't have a movie for her. So,
Yeah.
oh well.
Yeah, I think it's just too bloated, as you're saying right now. It's far too bloated, and I think again you just gotta basically start from scratch. Start with Professor X. Start with Magneto. Start with this school for kids, and yeah, just build it from there. We don't care about all these spin-offs and stuff like that. No offense to Ironheart. No offense to. I'm actually looking forward to Wonder Man a decent amount. No offense to. Yeah, there's just far too much shows. Far too much shows. I stopped watching it. Like when I stopped watching the shows, that's when it's bad. I was on board for a lot of this, but even I gave up. I have not seen a lot of them. Once they fumbled Moon Knight, especially, I didn't like that much. Some people love the show. I'm gonna get hate for that. But yeah, you just gotta minimize it again. Start from scratch. Start in a new universe. That's hopefully what Secret Wars is bringing us to a degree. You want to get back on track with hockey?
Let's do it.
Ice, the last hockey one from Los JIC. Is Matthew Darsh doing a mistake by avoiding the rebuild and not trading enough guys? I'll start with this. I assume you're not going to have too much to say on it. I definitely, by getting the first overall pick, they got lucky a decent amount. Being able to get that potential franchise defenseman. I think they have to stink for one more year. As long as if they're not good, he trades JG Pajot and tells Anders Lee, you're either going to take a 2 to 3 year deal at $2 to $3 million. We're not giving you that much. We're not giving you a Kyle Palmieri kind of deal because you could probably get a first round pick for both of those guys. If they stink next year and trade their rental guys, they're probably going to have 3 first round picks and maybe another prospect on top of that. And I think that they are going to be good enough to transition into this next generation, especially if it is a top 8 pick in a draft. It looks like they might have some real difference maker forwards. Like, again, they got very lucky with the Brock Nelson deal, got very lucky with the draft, and who fell to them with the Noah Dobson trade, where I don't think that they need this nuclear rebuild. Bo Horvat is getting up there in age. Sorokin, you look at Bobrovsky. I'm not saying he's going to be Bobrovsky, but can have some solid longevity into his mid 30s. And they do have some good goalie prospects, 2 pretty good ones that maybe could replace Sorokin. But yeah, especially so much easier said than done with like a scorched earth rebuild, because for a market like Long Island, the owners don't want to go through a rebuild. Like Montreal, Toronto, the New York Rangers, like people are going to go to the games regardless. Doesn't really matter that much. Versus a Long Island, versus some of these other markets like a Calgary, it's harder to sell a rebuild, full scale rebuild. So I think Darsh is doing it right by signing some of these outside of Romanov shorter term deals like a Jonathan Drouin, and just seeing how the team looks next year. And I have faith in him that he's not, especially after trading Noah Dobson, that he's going to be willing to sell at the deadline and think towards the 2026 draft and then kind of try to get this team back on track. Retool, not rebuild.
I agree with the retool approach, mostly because I disagree with your premise that Anders Lee and JG Pajot could get first round picks. I don't think either of those players are actually all that valuable. I don't
Ooh,
think anyone the Islanders have to
Anders Lee was
sell other
good
than
last
Barzil or
year.
Sorokin is actually all that valuable.
Horvat would get a
So, like,
lot.
what trade would
Stop.
you want him to make? I don't agree. I think
And the
Horvat on his
market
current
right now.
contract
When
I think on the market right now, Bo Horvat's contract would be seen
I
as we
think
are overpaying a
no,
2C for his regression years.
no, I still think Bo
I would
Horvat
not
is.
trade a first round pick for Bo Horvat.
Oh
I think
no,
that contract is
You're
like net
crazy.
zero.
Obviously it depends on the team, like a young up and coming team. Yeah, you're not trading for Bo Horvat, but a team like the Carolina Hurricanes, if Bo Horvat became available, they would be all over that, giving up probably the equivalent of 2 first round picks. I know that might be crazy, but blow your mind. But that is
I
an
think
ideal
that is
goal
great.
scoring second
You're
line center.
selling me on like Bo
Late
Horvat
first
being
round picks.
similar
I'm not
value to
saying they're going to get
Jared
16th
McCann.
and 17th overall. What are you saying?
You're telling me that Bo Horvat's in like the same vicinity of value as Jared McCann. I don't buy that.
McCann definitely has more value considering he's at $5 million, but Bo Horvat does fit a big need, which is second line centers in the NHL right now. We talk about teams like Montreal, like a Carolina Hurricanes, like Bo Horvat, that kind of player is very much in demand in the NHL right now. But go back to your overall point. We're not going to turn this into a bull war, Matt. You were saying that that you thought two players have value. I think, actually, not to hijack again, I think Lee and Pajot at half retained could get a late first. You're not getting the Cal Ritchie first in Cal Ritchie, a very good prospect in a first round pick. I agree with you on that. But from a team that's safely in a playoff spot that probably might make a conference final, I think for Anders Lee, who still gave you like almost 30 goals and like low 50s points, I think this year with solid analytics, I don't think, as long as he's within the realm of that, at $3.5 million, I think he would get a first round pick in leadership, as stupid as that is. And Pajot is like the ideal third line. So Pajot might be 2 seconds or a second and a third, though.
I'd be surprised if either got a first round pick. That's all I have to say about that.
All right. But yeah, they have the Colorado pick next season. They have their own pick, which hopefully will be top 10. So yeah, I don't think that they have to do this nuclear teardown, because I don't even think I'm biased for having them as the number 8 prospect pool heading into next year. I think that's a fair spot.
Yeah, I think the passive retool, keeping the core pieces of Barzal and Sorokin, is better than trading either of those guys for a full rebuild.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, definitely. At this point, if you told me this a year ago, if you told me this May of 2024, before they got Yzerman, before they did the Brock Nelson trade, I'd probably agree with you, because they didn't have any fucking pieces. But now, over the last 4 months, they've done a really damn good job where I don't think they need that. And it wasn't even feasible before with ownership. They weren't going to fall. They weren't going to do that.
No, that's like the unspoken rule of all sports, really, but it's especially noticeable in the NHL because a lot of the teams don't have that much money. Is everyone who likes a bad team wants to imagine that they can do an EA Sports rebuild, trade everything for every first round pick, and then in 2 years we'll be good. The reality of sports economics is that like a third of the teams in the NHL financially cannot afford to do an outright tank and then have 60% attendance for 2 or 3 seasons.
Like San Jose is a small market that kind of did it, but San Jose, the overall area is decent. I know San Francisco's the main city there, but like they were kind of forced to, just because they had a 20-year run and like they threw money at Erik Karlsson at the end. Like I think they like sucked for like a season or two before they fully started trading everybody. Like that was not, oh, this is kind of winding down, let's trade it. It was Thornton was already gone. Burns was kind of washed up. Like that was just a natural cause, not a trade a bunch of guys in their late 20s because we're not quite there. They just ran out of time.
Yeah, like we never got a chance, for example, to see the New Jersey Devils have to do a full rebuild because they kind of lucked into the Hischier and Hughes draft picks when they were not like aggressive tanking bad.
That's still so funny that the 28th, like get Hischier, make the playoffs with Hughes. With Hall that 1 year, then get Hughes.
But yeah, even when the team wasn't very good, they were signing big names. They signed Ilya Kovalchuk. They traded for Taylor Hall. Versus a team like Chicago can financially withstand, like we can be the worst team in the league and people will still buy tickets, buy jerseys. The money will come in enough. That's not true for like Winnipeg or Nashville, that people will still buy tickets if the team is telling you right at the start of the season, we're going to go for last place this year.
Yeah, I think that's something like, honestly, like early on when I was doing content, I would scream about that without realizing the very real financial implications of a team like a Calgary, like a Winnipeg. Like Winnipeg fully could never support like a full teardown. So they're kind of forced. And it has worked out with decent success, this kind of like retool.
Even with like Nashville right now, the team is completely terrible, but it's at least important to have like a Stamkos size name to sell to casual fans. Otherwise, you're just not going to get people in the building down there.
Yeah. So always apply the context, okay? Don't just scream at the owners. We want to finish this out from Blake Deg 6.
Let's do it.
If you were raising a child prodigy in any sport, what would you choose? Babiak, I'll give this to you. I love my answer. You better not steal it.
Child prodigy in any sport. I would say probably tennis, because there's the most room for you to have control over your own career in a sport like tennis. Golf is comparable, I guess, and technically boxing, but I wouldn't want my kid to be having his face pounded in like that.
No, yeah.
So like tennis and then golf as a second place, with my whole idea being based around like pick an individual sport for this. It'd be dumb to pick a team sport.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm golf. I'm going with golf on this. Yeah, as much as I love hockey, CTE, all that stuff. I don't know if I want that for my kid. Football, definitely not. I love basketball. That would be cool. But yeah, I think golf would be sick. The mental fortitude also would be great in terms of teaching your kid. You could always play compared to tennis, where like I don't know if you could like be playing with your kid. It'd be so much better. Like golf, you can just go out on the golf course, chop it up with your son, play golf, battle with him, and yeah, you make a
They're
shit.
both
You
a
also
lot of travel too.
what?
A lot
Yeah,
of travel. You get to see cool places. You're not
yes.
just stuck in the
And also,
U.S.
especially like nowadays with golf, because of what happened with Liv and the PGA upping their things, you can make so much money golfing. Like Scheffler, I think made like $40 million last season. So like, yeah, you can make a lot. Not a ton of wear and like no wear and tear. Like tennis, it's not physical, but like ligaments and stuff like that, you can kind of break down. That ain't the case with golf. As long as you don't throw your back out or something like that, unless you're Tiger Woods and you have some other stuff, like you're gonna have a
You have a
pretty sick
long
life.
window to play it. Yeah.
Yes, yes, and yeah, especially with golf, you could play in the Champions Tour or the Corn Ferry Tour until you're 70 years old. People still love the older golfers and all that stuff. Like it's a sport that you can play basically forever. Yeah, I like golf at these moments. I'm not the biggest tennis guy, but I think those are the two answers compared to like more physical
Yeah.
sports where you don't want your child
Like,
to
oh,
risk
do
serious
hockey
injury or
where,
CTE.
right? Like hockey, A, serious injury risk. B, you could have your kid never win anything no matter how good he is. C, he's just straight up not going to make that much money.
Yeah,
I Googled this because I didn't bother to prep the stat for this. But Carlos Alcaraz earned $32 million purely off the court in endorsements in the last year. Like his endorsement money is more than double the top NHL money.
I'm looking up Scheffler right now. $62 million just off the tour. Just off the tour. That's insane. I mean, I'm sure the tennis sponsorship money is probably a little bit more, but yeah, if you're the best tennis player, if you're the best golf player, you're making a shit ton. You're living a pretty sick life, and especially with that, like also like there's not as much fanfare day to day compared to if you're a hockey player playing in a big market. If you're a football player, if you're a basketball player, you can live a rather low key life and still make absolute bank.
We're on a similar page there.
I think that's it for the podcast. We ended up going for an hour 7 first off-season podcast. I'm gonna try to start doing some interviews as well, attaching to this. We'll think of more topics. We'll probably do like way too early predictions, hot takes, stuff like that. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let us know what you think. Follow my Instagram, the other Instagrams, so you can be featured potentially in these Q&As. And we'll be seeing you in the next one.